Welcome to the Evolving Women podcast, where growth, healing, and empowerment aren't just ideas, they're a way of being. I'm Teresa Lisum, and in each episode, I'm joined by an extraordinary woman, one who is boldly shining her light in the world, one who is bringing her real life experience to each and every episode. And you'll be meeting my guest co host for today here shortly. She brings her heart centered wisdom and her powerful story to remind us all that we are not alone on this journey. This space is your permission to evolve, to expand, and to fully embody your most radiant, authentic self. So let's evolve together. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Evolving Women. And I have the privilege of having as my guest co host today, Kimberly Gwane. Hi, Kimberly. I'm so glad you're here. It is such an honor. We've tried to do this multiple times and we're finally making it happen. But I really admire what Kimberly is doing out there in the world. I come from an educating background as an educator, and she is doing that in a better way, in a more efficient way out there in the world. So thank you so much for being here, Kimberly. We so appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, as
Mhm.
always.
I said it is a delight. So I would love for you to start right from the get-go telling us a little bit about your Star Student program. It's an alternative to the typical educational model that most people send their kids to. But I would love to just hear a little bit about your program first, and then maybe we'll talk about how you got to the creation of this.
For sure, we can definitely do that. For what we offer to parents, one of the things that was really a pain point for me was the lack of individualization. And
Mhm.
so that is one of the four pillars, I will say, that Star Students builds their programs on. In terms of services that we offer, we have quite a few options because we do specialize in homeschooling as well as tutoring. Tutoring is fairly self-explanatory. Most people are aware of what tutoring is. We have tutoring students who come to us, either they are gifted and they just need some extracurricular activities, so they're not dying of boredom in their classrooms. Or we have students who come to us who are a little bit behind, whose parents want them to be on par with their peers and with their publicly school peers. We also have a few children who are tutored under Star Students that are on par and are what you might say academically accurate or academically average, and their parents
Mm.
want them to go further. Right? They're capable of more. They want to do more, but they're not getting that enrichment in school. So we run the gamut in terms of the abilities that we have, in terms of the level of kids that we have, and in terms of motivation too, right? Like it depends on how motivated the student is to learn. We can
Mhm.
teach until we're blue in the face, as I'm sure you know, but the student is not going to learn if they don't want to
Right,
learn. So
right.
that that always comes with a bit of a challenge, just depending on which students we're dealing with. I will say that because we are so highly personalized, we don't have too much of a problem with student engagement, especially when it comes to homeschooling. This is the other aspect of services that we offer, and I am very much more aligned with the homeschooling side of things than I am with the tutoring. I don't do much teaching anymore, but the teaching that I do is on the homeschooling side. We offer a variety of services for homeschooling because when you homeschool, you are very much flexible. You have lots of different rules, and there are lots of different reasons why parents homeschool. So I built Star Students programs for homeschooling to be flexible and to be adaptable for parents who are looking for those services. We have a couple different levels. The highest level is the Done For You program, which is very much what it is done for you.
Hmm.
This is very much done with the kids, with the parents at the beginning to make sure that the curriculum is on board, to make sure that everything is as it should be approved with the resources, the curriculum that we're using, with the frameworks that we're using, et cetera, with the subjects as well. That's our highest level that we have. Built from scratch, customized from scratch, like very highly adaptable. Actually, we start at the beginning of October, our homeschool program for that. That's from October, and we go through to about May. So I'm in the middle of planning at the moment.
Oh, well,
I was doing
thank you
some
for
planning
taking the
before.
time out.
Of course, absolutely, absolutely. This is important, right? Um, yeah, so we did that. I'm in the middle of planning with our parents and our students that are very much individualized for that. The secondary level of service that we offer is coaching services. There's lots of parents who want to be able to teach their children. I can say they choose to make the time to teach their children, and they want to be able to homeschool them, but they don't necessarily have all of the resources. They don't have a gamut of knowledge because they didn't necessarily go to school to be a teacher and they're new to this whole
Yeah.
homeschool thing, or perhaps maybe like 2 or 3 years in, right? And they just need some extra support. They're looking for some extra guidance. They want to make sure, this is something I see that's really common. They want to make sure that their kids, that their children, that they themselves are homeschooling, are academically, oftentimes it's academically ahead of their peers. Parents are very much, parents who homeschool that come to Star Students for coaching services are very much aware of their own shortcomings, and they're very much aware of wanting to be able to give their kids the best opportunities, right? So they just want to be able to have that extra guidance, right? And have that extra coach in your corner. That's worked out really well so far because it allows for a lot of flexibility with the parents. They still are in, at that point, they're in absolutely full control of what they're doing. I just serve as their guide for what they're doing, how they're doing it, right? If they need to be connected to certain other people, right? So that's worked really well. And then our tertiary level, our last level of homeschooling support, falls kind of along the lines of tutoring as well, but it's far more geared towards homeschooling. I fondly refer to this as rent a subject, as my rent a subject program. There's many parents that they choose to homeschool, but they want their kid to perhaps have some extra support in math, or they feel like their child might need some extra support in literacy, or their kid is bored to tears with their nature schooling program and they want some extra support in science, right? I see this often actually with retired teachers who choose to homeschool their children, and for whatever reason, they just don't want to touch math or they don't want to touch science. Those are the two common ones that people tend not to want to teach. I'm not quite sure what math I understand. Science, I'm not quite sure what, but it is what it is. Yeah, so that runs along the same sorts of lines as tutoring, but it's geared towards homeschooling families. Again, something that's flexible for their needs, right? So I really tried to make it as flexible and adaptable as possible when I was designing our different programs and our different offerings.
I love that. And you've brought a couple of those words up multiple times. Flexible, adaptable, customized, personalized. It's almost opposite what's happening in the public school system
Oh,
here in the States, like it's more like put them in a box, teach them all the
yeah,
same. They're expected to learn all the same, whether they can or want to or not, expected to have, like everything is same, same, same. And you're way over here at this end of the spectrum, personalized, individualized, customized to the family, to the children, to the parents. I just absolutely love that. I wish we could take more of that, what you're doing, and put that in a public school setting.
yeah, it is. It is as I will say, respectfully, a pipe dream for that to happen because the way that the public school system is built right now, that unfortunately is not doable. How do
Yeah.
you do that when you have, as you would know, right? You spent, I want to say 25 years, 30
Yep,
years
pretty
in
good.
home
Yeah, good
education, right?
memory.
You would have seen that firsthand. It's very difficult to, especially with all the IEPs and everything that you have to consider in your classroom. It's very difficult to deliver a quality lesson, let alone a quality lesson that all
Right,
30 kids are
right,
going to be able to connect to, right? And that's not the fault of the teachers, mind
right,
you. That's not the
correct,
fault of the
correct.
students. the system was not designed to support individualized learning and to support personalized learning and to support
Correct.
inquiry-based learning. It was never
Correct.
designed for them in the first place.
Yeah. It was built for a homogenizing
Yeah,
and
yeah,
putting them
and
all in the same mindset. And I mean, and so it served its purpose there, I think, at the beginning, but now it's time to let that go. We
I
need to
agree.
really be promoting and advocating for these kids to shine on their own and really let them step up and, into their own authentic way of being here in the world. And I
Mhm.
love that well, I don't want to say cater, that's not a good word. You help those which you called, what was it? Academically accurate. I have never heard that phrase before. I love that. The gifted as well as those who need a little bit more support in whatever arena that they need it in. But I always felt that I couldn't address any of those groups with any great intention because you again have to be so homogenized. I don't know if that's a good word
Yeah.
to use. It just keeps popping into my head.
No, I think that's quite accurate.
And it's like I always felt really bad that I didn't have the mind, the wheelhouse. I didn't have the brain power to address those three different types of students, and especially those academically accurate students. I always felt they were so shortchanged because I was more worried about this group or this group, but not that one in the middle that could take care of themselves for the most part. And they were the
Right.
good students, but I didn't have to worry about them because they were doing everything fine,
Right.
on their own. And I always felt really bad about them. I always referred to them as those who fell in the cracks, through the cracks,
Yes.
because I wasn't able to address them because I was over here, and I knew they were going to be fine on their own,
Mhm.
which really wasn't serving them, but it was my way of having to let those particular students go so I could focus over here.
That is the really sad thing because, like you just said, you felt really bad about that.
Hmm.
Isn't that awful that we have a
It's
system
awful.
that
Yeah.
is like that?
Yeah.
That's the norm, right? And I
Yeah.
was speaking with someone earlier today as well, and she said the same thing, like the public school system it's not designed for this. Actually,
It's
she's
not.
worked in education for 29 years as well in special education,
Mhm. Mm,
before she chose to retire. And she said the same thing to me. The public education system wasn't designed for that, but how awful is it that we have this system that's promoted as the norm, right? That's promoted as
yeah.
something that is just, well, what else do you do? What do you mean you're not
Yeah.
sending your kids to school? What? Like that is considered to be extreme, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and I always and I said this to her as well. I always ask because some people think that the system can be fixed. I have my own opinions, which are probably I'll keep them to myself. Suffice it to say, I don't have much hope for the system being fixed. But for those who do have a hope of the system being fixed, regardless of what side of the fence you're on that one, it is going to take time because you have to realize that this public school system that we have has been in place for going on 100, 150,
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully more
Too
than that at
long.
this point, right? It's going to take time to be fixed.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, are you going to let all of those children, your children, suffer
Yeah.
because the system will be fixed eventually,
Hmm.
right? Like you have to, I think as a parent, my obligation to my son is to make sure that he's in an environment where he thrives, not
Yeah.
where he's miserable and not where he's upset and not where he can't focus and not where he, as you so kindly put it, falls through the cracks.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think that's just so sad that we have a system that's like that.
Yeah. And that's why I applaud you so much and admire you so much because you didn't want to wait for this system to be fixed. Because, like you said, it's going to be generations before there's any kind of a change. You know how institutions move really, really slowly in terms of change.
Yeah, yeah,
And it can be done. There's wonderful people that are part of that system. Like you said, the teachers, it's not their fault. It's not necessarily administrators' fault. It's just the whole structure and the whole system is just like this huge, heavy, lumbering thing that it's going to take time to change. And you didn't want to wait. You decided to do something
No.
on your own. So I think that is just so fabulous.
Oh, but yeah, I'm not I'm not I can be patient. I can definitely be patient, but not when I see a problem that needs to be solved and when I know what I can do about it.
Well, you
That
saw the problem and
yeah.
you took action. Now, let me ask you this. Did you know how this was going to play out for you?
Oh,
Did you know every
oh.
piece and part of it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh my goodness. When I think back now to when I first started my business, oh man, it has been such a journey. And oh no, if you told me that my business would look the way it does now, I would have laughed in your face. If you told me I would have run my own business, I would have laughed in your face because I was very much against running my own business. I was very much against being an entrepreneur. I was very much against putting myself into that position because of my personal upbringing that I had as a child. Man, hindsight is 2020. I'm trying not to laugh because oh man, I just life is a funny way of just coming like full circle.
Well, and I so appreciate you saying that because there's so many of us that feel we can't start something. We can't take a chance. We can't do our version of fixing the problem or offering an alternative solution because we don't have it all figured out. It's just an idea, and maybe we'll come to it someday. And oh, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. I don't know anybody like we have all these self doubts and we talk ourselves out of so many things. Whereas you just stepped forward, correct me if I'm wrong, stepped forward again. You just kept saying yes. And as you said, the journey was probably not straight. It was probably like all wonky and zigzaggy. And we have this misconception that people that have a successful business or whatever we see as successful, or oh, they offer this solution and how awesome is that? We just have this belief, which is not true, this story that, oh, you came by it easily, you just followed this straight path, and everything unfolded beautifully for you. And here you are, up
Sounds like a
here,
nice
and we're
dream.
still waiting down here with our unbirthed, idea.
Yeah, I would 100% say that that is true, that that is a social, I would say a social conception that people have. And
Hmm.
what sucks, like royally sucks about that is that it makes it really difficult to talk about the hard times. It makes it really
Hmm.
difficult to
Hmm.
talk about the stuff that doesn't go right. It makes it really hard to discuss any sort of challenges
Yeah,
with anyone because we all think that everybody else has it all together,
correct.
right? And like newsflash, like everybody doesn't have it all together all the time. Now, of course, you should have proper systems in place. You should have proper structures in place, right? But sometimes things happen, right? Sometimes things don't necessarily go away. That is the advantage, I suppose, of being a business owner is that sometimes things are going to be great and you're going to be like, I love being a business owner. This is fantastic. This is the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Hmm.
I'm going to tell you honestly, there have been times, especially over the over the last, I want to say a year and a half, where I've said, oh man, being an employee would be so much easier. Like being a teacher would be so like in a public school would be so much easier because then I wouldn't have to deal with headache A, B, C, and D, right?
Yeah.
So it's not
Hmm.
to say that being a business owner is this fantastic journey. And as you said, like it's linear and everything happens the way you want it, a total straight line. Like it is not. It is the furthest thing from that
Yeah.
in any business that you start. I think that there tends to be people tend to be too hard on themselves with their
Yeah.
expectations of what
Mm-hmm.
should happen when.
Good point.
And something that I had to learn for myself and that I am still in the process of learning is that you're not you are not always going to have it all together, and that's okay. It doesn't need to be something that is perfect all the time.
Mm.
And what really cemented my mindset with that, there's somebody out there who is half as skilled as you are at whatever your business idea is, that's already doing it and getting paid for it
Mm-hmm.
because they started
Yeah.
and they didn't sit there and think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know where I read that, but I read it somewhere and I was like, man,
Mm-hmm.
if that was ever like a kick to like get myself moving, that was it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great. So you just gave everybody permission not to be perfect.
I did. I did. I mean, not that I'm somebody, super special, like the president or
Well,
anything, but
and again, thank you so much for that because we do tend to feel like, oh, somebody like you is special. You know other things that I don't know, and you were able to do this because of a skill set. And that's not true. I mean, you might have, I'm not saying you don't have a skill set. That's not what I'm meaning. I'm
no,
meaning
no,
in general.
I mean,
Like we dismiss our own wisdom and our own abilities and our own trust in ourselves that we
mhm,
can figure it out.
yeah, because oftentimes we get in our own way.
Oh, all the
And
time.
I am personally, that's a lesson that I'm still learning is to get out of my own way,
Yeah. Yeah.
to just do the thing.
Just take the action and quit trying to overthink it and talk ourselves out of it. I mean, that's one of my things. I can talk myself out of anything.
I can talk myself out of anything. I can probably talk myself into anything too. Like,
Exactly, but we forget that part of
analyze
it.
it.
Yeah, we forget that half. Like, oh, if we can talk ourselves out, we can talk ourselves into it.
Mhm.
And sometimes the action is what gets you out of your head, right? If
Yes,
you take the
yes,
action, even if it's imperfect, even if it's not the right one, just do something and figure it out, course correct, change it, pivot as you need to.
yes,
And I don't
yes.
think we hear that message enough.
Yes, that's huge. Honestly, it is important, I think, to have an idea of what you want to do. It is
Yeah,
important to have a general sense of where you're going,
right, right.
but that doesn't mean that it can't morph and change along the way.
Hmm.
I never ever set out to be an entrepreneur, and I never set out to be someone who was in the homeschooling space.
Hmm.
But when the opportunity presented itself, because I put myself, honestly, I put myself out there and I put my opinions out there on social media. And that
Uh,
is, I'm not even kidding you, that is where
wow.
clients found me. And that is where people started coming to me, families started coming to me and saying, we want you to teach our kids. We want you to
Hmm.
homeschool our kids because here's a teacher who has stepped outside of the system
Yeah.
and refuses to be a part of the system, but can circumvent it and get our kids around it, right? Was the thinking of these parents.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they never would have found me if I hadn't put myself out on social media.
Mm.
If I hadn't stood up and said, hey, I see a problem, this is wrong. What
Love
I
that.
mean, in that case, it was during like 2020 and 2021. So it was all of the stuff that was going on with the school system,
Yeah.
all of the extra nonsense that was happening. I was just not having it. And I'm not a quiet person. I'm not a strong person. I have learned to kind of temper my opinions a little bit, but there's certain things that don't fly with me. And that was one of them, right? And I was angry, I'm not going to lie, because I had spent 6 years in post-secondary education to, with the idea to have this opportunity to teach in a public school, only to have that entire base ripped out from under me.
Right, right.
I was mad. I was so mad. I was so mad.
I don't
But
blame
it turned
you.
into something good. It turned into something good. And it started with just tutoring, and it started with just me. and it grew into tutoring. It has exploded in the homeschooling space.
Mm,
And I now have teachers, six teachers at last count, that work directly with me to
wow,
support
that's
our tutoring
fabulous.
kids and our homeschooling kids.
Oh, that is so
Never
cool.
would have imagined in a million years. And it would never have happened if I hadn't put myself out
That is part of the first steps, isn't it? Just
there.
being visible, sharing your thoughts, sharing your wisdom, your opinions, and not being afraid to stand behind them,
Yeah. Hmm.
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big one.
Mm. Wow. Well, we're so glad you did. And I'm just looking at one of your little stickers back there, teaching children not to think. Excuse me, teaching. I just butchered it, didn't I? Teaching
But you
children
can,
how to think, not what to think. Love
that's
that.
right.
Amen, sister.
Yeah. We're teaching them not to think inside the box. There you go.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Whew. Again, I so am honored and I so support you and I appreciate what you're doing out there because I worked with wonderful, wonderful teachers who were basically working with their hands tied together, working, trying to do the best they could inside that box.
Yeah.
And they were creative and they were loving and heart-centered and they wanted so much for these kids, but they had to work within so
Yeah.
many parameters and limitations and that was sad to see as well. So the children weren't being served and the teachers weren't being unleashed to be
Yeah.
in their creative mode and to do what they love and you have circumvented that. You have kind of found a way around that. And I
Tried my
just
very
love
best.
that. Oh, and you're young too. Like I could see this coming from a seasoned educator who was in the system for 30 years or whatever, and
Yeah.
deciding, oh, that's enough. Can do it better, blah, blah, blah. So I can see an older educator doing something like this. But you like did it right out of the gate as a young person. So that is just
Yeah.
oh, that just warms my heart and fills my heart up.
No, thank you. That means a lot coming from someone who is a seasoned educator who was in the system for 30 years, right? Who I can only imagine, I speak with educators who have been teaching for, 15, 20,
Hmm
25, 30 years. And I can only imagine how different the system is now than it was 30 years ago, right? If you think about even
Yeah.
over the past 5 years,
Yeah.
how much has changed since everything went down in March of 2020, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that was like the pinpoint when the education system, the flaws in the education system were exposed.
To more people. To
Yeah,
more
to more
people. That's
people,
a
right?
very
Rather
good
than just
point.
those
Yeah.
inside.
Yep, you're exactly right. And that was always, I always thought at that point in time, like, oh, things are going to change for the better now. And this is the tipping point and things are going to
Mhm.
improve. Yeah, that didn't happen. I mean,
Yeah,
some things might have shifted. Like you
yeah.
said, some people saw the light around it. And
Mhm.
I'm guessing there's more people like you that are out there trying to offer some alternatives. And there's more
Yeah.
parents that are aware of the flaws and the cracks and they want better for their
Absolutely.
children. So they're seeking
Homeschooling.
out people like you.
Yeah, and home. So I'm just mentioning because you said there's parents who are aware. Parents are very aware, and
Mm,
there has been year over year, there has been an increment. I don't know the exact statistics, but there's been a huge increase in homeschooling since 2020.
love
Um,
that.
yeah, it has been enormous from 2020 to 2021, and then to 20, it just keeps going up.
Hmm
The percentages of people just keep going up, and to me, that's encouraging because it means that
No,
more parents are taking charge of their education, of
yes,
kids'
yes.
education. More parents are looking for alternatives, and more parents are saying, like, hey, while the system figures itself out, I'm doing something different.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that.
That's really what
Take
matters.
Yeah, taking charge, parents taking charge, taking responsibility, wanting better for their kids. And they don't have an excuse because now they know about you.
Well, I'm one of many options, but yes, yes, yes.
And whereas I really wish I was able to and known about homeschooling back when my kids were younger. I probably would have taken advantage of that. I don't know if I was living in a bubble or it was not quite a thing back then. But like you said, it's just exploded in this decade. I knew there was some of it going on when my kids were growing up, but I didn't realize, I just didn't have the knowledge base. I didn't know, I didn't have the awareness. So
Yeah.
just bringing the message to parents who do have kids in this system that there are alternatives. You might have to do a little research, do a little effort to find it, but it's definitely out there. And more so now, like you said.
Yes, for sure. Well, when you know better, you do better, right?
Oh,
That's not placing
exactly.
blame
Yeah.
on anybody. It's just that once you do know better, you are
Ex-
obligated, I
Exactly.
think, to take action.
Exactly. You can't unsee what you already have seen, and you know about. So,
As I sit here with a picture on my computer of two hands with a red pill and a blue pill. Once you take the red pill, you can't ever take the blue pill again, right? And that's much like homeschooling. People who start homeschooling, very, very few of them go back to the public school.
oh, I bet. I bet. Oh my gosh, because I can imagine it being so much more richer. Like I said, so flexible, so personalized. Kids actually enjoy what they're learning and they're leaning into what they're learning and they're partners in the
Mhm.
learning as opposed to it being dictated to them. You must
Yeah,
learn this, whether you like it or not.
yeah, exactly.
It's more child centered,
As it should be, right? As it
as it
should be.
should be. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
yeah, one of the amazing perks of homeschooling too is that kids can work at their own pace, right? They don't
Hmm.
have to sit they do not have to sit, they should not be sitting at a table for 6 or 7 or 8 hours a day
Oh my
doing
God.
textbook work,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That's not
Yeah.
homeschooling. Oftentimes, homeschooling looks like 2 hours of school a day, max, because you
Which is
can get
what
to the
could be
beginning
done in a
so much
public school
faster.
setting too. But
Well, I don't know how effective that would be. I don't know how much people would learn, but you're right, it could be
well,
done
but they can definitely make some changes there and condense it down.
for sure,
Um,
for sure.
but I know our time's almost up, and I am just delighting in this conversation. And I love everything you've brought to us today. And again, I love everything you're doing out there in the world. How can our listeners get a hold of you if they're very much interested in connecting in with you?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, you can always find me on my website. So that's www.starstudents.co, not .com, gotta be
Okay.
different,
Okay.
.co. All contact information is there. If you want to just email me directly, then it's Kimberly, Kimberly, at starstudents.co.
Okay. And we'll, of course, have links to your information in the description with this recording. So everybody listening in can go ahead and check that out as well. And I'm sure you'll show up in a Google search really
Oh yeah,
quickly.
if you Google me, if you Google my name or you Google Star Students, yeah, we're right up there close to the top.
Yeah,
Um,
I love the
yeah,
Star Students name because we all want our students to be stars. I mean, we all should be stars in our own right, but that has been eroded away. But you're changing that. You are
that's right.
setting the standard for different, something better. And thank you so much for doing what you're doing out there in the world. It's a great opportunity for next future generations to really shine. And our world's only going to be a better place.
That is the hope. That is definitely the hope.
For sure. That's a big mission, isn't it? A big mission. But
I think so.
thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you for taking on that mission.
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
Okay. I appreciate you, Kimberly. And if
Uh,
anybody who's listening, you find that this has been great information, you know someone you want to share it with, please share this episode with them, subscribe, whatever else I'm supposed to tell you to do. But definitely check Kimberly up. Kimberly up. I know you know people with young kids that could use this information. So again, Kimberly, thank you so much. Thank you everybody who's listening, and we will see you the next time. Bye-bye.